right, but before we begin, we want to hear from you today. We told you in the headlines about how Akasa Air is going to allow pets on board. Remember, the pets have to be 7 kgs and under to be allowed in the cabin. We want to know from you if you think it's a good idea or not. So we have a Twitter poll going on right now. You can go to our Twitter handle of Mirror Now and vote in for it. We will tell you what most people are thinking at the end of the show, so do stay tuned for that. So after that quick reminder, let me get on to the lead story of the day. 2 very disturbing incidents have come to light in the last 24 hours where Indians have been killed in the United States. The first is that of a Sikh family of 4 who were kidnapped at gunpoint from their place of business in the Merced County in Northern California. 2 days later, their bodies were found in an orchard by a farmer. Even the 8-month-old baby was not spared. Meanwhile, in Indiana, 20-year-old Indian student Varun Chadha was stabbed by his roommate on the campus of Purdue University. Police are now investigating the reasons. Now, before we raise the question of whether there are more and more hate crimes against people of Indian origin in the US, Canada and UK, let me take you through the details of both cases. CCTV footage has revealed, in case 1, how Jasdeep Singh, Amandeep Singh and Jasleen Kaur, that's the CC footage I'm talking about. And it's really bone-chilling. It reveals how these people, along with their baby, were kidnapped at gunpoint. The men are first kidnapped. That's the first loop you're seeing. The men are first kidnapped, and then the suspect comes back to take the mother with the infant in her arms. The suspect is 48-year-old Jesus Salgado. He's a history cheater and was caught after his family handed him over. He confessed to them and then tried to kill himself. He is currently critical in hospital. The motives of the crime are still being investigated, though the sheriff there has spoken about financial motives. Let's listen in.
Again, horribly senseless as to what happened here. We don't know motivation yet, but we are making the determinant factor on that, and the investigation now is going to pursue a full conviction, and I'm hoping our district attorney's office files for the death penalty. That's how I feel.
Meanwhile, in the case of Varun Chadha, it is still unclear why his 22-year-old roommate, Korean Jimmy Shah, stabbed him multiple times. Shah is in police custody and called the police actually himself. Let's listen in what happened to that case.
This investigation is ongoing and will continue for quite a while. The victim's name and status here at Purdue University is Varun Manish Chadha, 20 years old, who's a senior in data science. As of now, the charges are murder. That is the only charge we have on our suspect, and the investigation is ongoing at this time.
Now, are these cases of mentally unstable people perpetrating crimes, or are Indians specifically the soft target? I'm asking this because of data put out by the FBI of hate crimes based on religion. And in the FBI, they put these crimes out as per religion, which is why I'm reporting it that way. So crimes against Sikhs, for example, in 2017 were 18. They've been consistently rising and going up from 2018 at 40 crimes. 2019 was 54 crimes, and the latest at 2020 was 89 crimes. Crimes against Hindus in 2017, this is FBI data, so I'm talking about the United States over here, was 15 in 2017 and went up consistently over the years as well. Now, the question is, what are the reasons that these incidents are being reported? To speak on this, I'm joined today by Mishi Chowdhary, who's a lawyer, Bhai Baldeep, a political activist, an analyst, and Nupur Dhakephalka, who's the founder and clinical psychologist from the Center for Mental Health Institute, Pune. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for speaking with us today. Mishi, let me begin with, just your sense of what is happening, because it's very shocking for us here in India to understand why these crimes are being perpetrated.
Yes, I think any such news, when does come from any country where the diaspora lives, it does raise alarm, because whether it is the United States or the UK, a lot of parents try to think about these destinations as places where people can go to study. Their young children are out there, and a lot is celebrated also in terms of success of Indians in these jurisdictions. So obviously it does raise alarm. I would say that in both the cases which we just talked about, they definitely seem right now to be senseless and not categorized as hate crime. That is not to say that what you talked about, which is the Uniform Crime Reporting Program of FBI, which does talk about hate crime based on religion, etc., does not raise certain questions about what is going on. These two cases, at least, right now, we have no basis to believe that these are motivated by either religion or in terms of ethnicity or the country of origin, etc. They seem very senseless. They don't right now have a reason. And perhaps it's also because a lot of Indians are now here in the US. There will be certain kind of disputes, the regular crime which would happen. Not to say that there are not other ones which are happening.
Mishi, you're right. In these two cases, we don't know. We don't know till the investigations continue. But, I'm also going to show our viewers a lot of data and a lot of incidents that have been taking place recently. And we have some of these incidents from Canada, the UK, the US as well. And we'll put those out on the screen for you, which is why I'm asking that question about whether there are more and more hate crimes against Indians. Are they also seen as soft targets? The motivation might eventually be financial. But are they being seen as soft targets?
So in the past, at least 3 years, and I only know about the US where I live here, what we have seen is crime has really gone up for a variety of reasons, like against Asians. When the pandemic happened, we saw a lot of hate against people from China. We've seen that. We're also seeing a lot of white supremacy fueled hatred as well as violence in the United States. When that happens, people of color, which is us who are perhaps here trying to live a life, make success out of it, and Indian success in the United States is now becoming legendary, whether it's in California, whether it is in politics, whether it is about technology. Indians are really successful. That does make them a target as well. Many more in numbers. The rise of white supremacy and just saying that America is for the white people and not for everyone else who's coming to here to make a life, that does tell us a lot more about this rise in hatred against a certain community.
So, which is why the FBI data, like I mentioned, is religion-wise. They are not categorizing people as Indian. They either do South Asian or, they do religion, etc. So we'll play out more of that data from various countries, which can give us a broader picture. Bhai Baldeep, do you think this is also linked worldwide to the rise of a political thought that immigration is bad, that immigrants are bad, that they're taking away our jobs, they're taking away our wealth? I mean, you have the new Home Secretary of the UK, who's the daughter of an immigrant herself, saying she can't wait to see a plane take off for Rwanda. And that is a growing trend in politics globally, isn't it?
It's very unfortunate. I mean, we've made ignorance fashionable, and hatred of others is politically correct. Hatred for those who do not worship the same God, do not speak the same language, wear the same colors, wear similar clothes.
No, Bhai Baldeep, I need to fix your audio. Unfortunately, sir, you can't be heard very clearly. I'm going to ask them to fix your audio before I come back to you. So let them just fix that and let me come back to you. I'm going to go in the interim to Nupur. Nupur, the reason I was keen to get your expert view on this show is because, like, Mishi also said, these two cases I talked about seem to be that of unstable people. Because in case number 1, Salgado, who kidnapped and murdered that family, confessed to his family and then tried to kill himself. So the police got the clue from the family of the accused man. And in the case of the 20-year-old student, his roommate who stabbed him multiple times is the one who called 911. We've also heard the horrific case of a Thai ex-cop who's gone and murdered 35 people in a daycare center. Is there an underlying epidemic that we're not seeing?
So, the way to look at hate crimes is 3 ways. We look at it from a socio-political angle, which Bhai Baldeep will join in with his views. And the other 2 ways of looking at it are the psychosocial aspects and the personality aspects. So when you are right when we're talking about people who are feeling mentally unstable. You see a lot of impulsiveness, you see a lot of aggressiveness, hostility, rebelliousness, sense of right or wrong is shaken a little bit. They may not be able to differentiate between behavior that's acceptable, not acceptable, harmful behavior, or a non-harmful behavior. Also, lack of empathy, lack of being able to understand emotions, what the impact of actions may be on the other person, what they may go through. That sense of empathy itself is lacking many times. And what happens is these perpetrators, they believe that what they're doing is right and that they're justified by their actions because they are supposedly threatened by minority groups, and especially Indians, and the number of Indians abroad are just growing rapidly and also into power positions. So these political and social changes affect the internal psyche of a person a lot, and it shows off in interpersonal behaviors very directly and indirectly, on the road, subtly, not so subtly, obviously. So right. Yes, the more minority groups come in power, the more threat is
people
perceived.
Feel. I have Bhai Baldeep back. So I have Bhai Baldeep back. I think we fixed that audio. Bhai Baldeep, if you can hear me, I was talking about the global trend where anti-immigrant has become, unfortunately, the hot thing in politics.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Tamanna, we've made, ignorance fashionable and hatred of others is politically correct. Hatred of those who do not worship the same God, do not speak the same language, wear the same colors, wear similar clothes, eat same food, or are born with a similar, not the same color skin, as if there is no pure political future if one is not ornate with these or all of such necessary vices. But then what has the United Nations ensured? For example, if I may digress for a moment, then there is a Parliament of World's Religions where there is no talk about united religions or the need to trash the idea of missionaries or of conversions. This misled missionary zeal believes that you're not good enough as you are and that there is no eternal peace and heaven otherwise. Look at our nation itself. Hate crimes and genocides, but then a saga of cover-ups and injustice. Ethnic cleansing, which you mentioned, referred to with regards to Rwanda, with the UK thing, ethnic cleansing is much more viciously deep-rooted. And I really do not know what is the remedy for there seems to be no socio-political will, both locally and globally.
I want to talk, Bhai Baldeep, I want to talk about these 2 cases we've seen today and the cases of the Sikh family who were kidnapped and killed. They're trying to still figure out why. The sheriff says financial motive, but was this guy mentally unstable? We don't know, but the fact that someone can go out and even murder an 8-month-old baby, do you think that there is that feeling of being unsafe for the diaspora?
It is. It's a very bad situation. I was to be, to lead the candlelight vigil at the Oak Creek Gurdwara in Wisconsin 10 years ago. Somebody entered the Gurdwara, and murdered. And there was my travel issues, my ticketing issues that led a last-minute absence. But I've been mindful of the idea. 9/11, when it happened, January, immediately after, even I was stopped by the cops in the US. They asked, I had my passport with me, they let me go. But this idea of the other, the subaltern idea, and then to do with what you see, the skin-based discrimination. The refugees from Ukraine are welcome in Europe, but the refugees from Syria are not. So it shows how deep-rooted this idea of the subaltern is. With the Sikhs and, with the kind of, I'm married to an Italian. In Italy, even today, this year, people call me Bin Laden or Saddam Hussein or Ali Baba, etc. So there is no education. We are not educating our children that humanity comes in very many colors, that it's okay if somebody wears a turban, if it's okay if somebody has a tilak on the face, or somebody wears a janeu, or is asematic, etc. I think there is a lot of...
it extends to all religions. Bhai Baldeep, it extends to all religions. You're talking about, and you're very rightly saying that Sikhs were targeted after 9/11. Those who were very visibly of the Muslim religion have also been profiled for many, many years. So the othering is definitely there. Mishi Chowdhary, now, do you think that in these two cases, it seems like a slightly different story?
At least from what the information so far is available, right now it seems like a crime which may have been committed, which cannot be categorized as hate crime. But until some information is available, I don't think we can say. But your earlier point about the fact that the world right now is actually seeing that kind of a struggle, where all around the world, we are not seeing any leadership positions being taken which protect the minority. Whether in India, what is happening in India against the minorities cannot be hidden, and that will have repercussions and reverberations around the world as well. Whether in the United States, where we have seen since the 2016 how the white supremacy and the divisions between what the country thinks about, which is celebrated usually as a melting pot of immigrants, how those divisions are being talked about. You just yourself talked about UK, where even the people who themselves have been the beneficiary of an immigrant system are not ready to actually live in the same way and welcome people as participants of that society, as well as contributors to that economy. I think this othering is happening everywhere, and then it also feeds into one another. Indians who themselves here and as a diaspora face all this kind of discrimination. However, when it comes to back home, they want to support various kind of issues where they don't want to recognize what we are doing either to the Dalits or to the Muslims or to the Christians or to the Sikhs. The problem always has been is that it also shows you how religion-based, when they're confused with Islam, but that also shows how much hatred is for the practitioners of Islam in other countries. And it's about appearances, whether it is hijab, whether it is a turban, whether it is about a burkini. All of us are
in this day and age, all of this persisting in this day and age, when so many boundaries have been glass barriers have been smashed. Nupur, can you explain that? Because some would argue that some of these countries I'm talking about have been much more liberal in including people of different backgrounds in the power system, in government, in, very big positions. They have actually gone ahead and done that much more than other nations, or maybe the host nations of some of these communities. But do you think at the grassroots level, there is still resistance to this idea?
See, one thing we have to understand is the ratio of actual hate crimes versus the number of hate crimes reported. There's probably a large gap between what the reality is and what is reported. Second thing, we have to understand how small or big are these countries. How, for example, Canada is very, very welcoming in its policies towards immigrants. They want them to come and have jobs, increase the economy, so on and so forth. So on the surface of it, it looks very, very welcoming, very, come and work with us, come and help grow our economy. You're all welcome here. But then we see at the same time what's happening on the other side. A lot of people migrated to Australia because, again, was very welcoming at one point of time. And then so much racism and so much hate crime and violence. And so, yes, we have to, we have to also understand that who are the people perpetrating the hate crimes versus who are the ones making laws and making
Look, there seems to be a bigger problem here because, and it's difficult to typify whether it's people of one community or race perpetrating these crimes. I don't want to get into that because that's, it's very difficult to do that. But it seems to come from a lot of mental issues and a lot of mental instability.
Yes.
Where you have everything from school shootings to, targeting people at religious places, at supermarkets. I mean, it's looking more and more like there is an epidemic out there.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, mental health, for example, just as a statistic, depression is the third largest killer in terms of health issues, So mental health issues definitely are coming out in the open more and more. And all of this, for example, antisocial personality disorder, emotionally unstable personality disorder, these are marked by traits of impulsiveness. They're not thinking before doing what they're doing, some form of hostility or thrill-seeking behavior in terms of harming others. So many of these things which have probably been imbibed in their personality, in the way they've grown up, their own trauma histories probably. Another understanding is bullying. Those who are bullied become bullies. That could also be a case where they may have experienced...
What is the way to deal with this? Bhai Baldeep, what is the way to deal with this for the community?
Education from scratch. We have to, accept, as I mentioned, even in the Parliament of World Religion in 2015 in the Salt Lake City, there was a meeting. What do we tell the United Nations? There was a conference of leaders who were the thinkers and the, think tank policymakers. I suggested at the time that it's time to call that it's okay to be different. It has to be taken up, at a global level. Our education system has to be brought in, has to be changed. We are growing up with too much hatred. It's all fashionable now. Look at the political story of America in the last very many years. Look at the kind of
unfortunately, hating the other has become, you're right, politically fashionable all over the world. All over the world.
Necessary.
And as Mishi said, we have to look inwards as well on this very, very important issue. Do we do that at home as well? Anyway, I want to thank all of you for joining us on this very important subject today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely condolences. It's completely horrific.